Hey, good morning, everybody. It is about 8, excuse me. It is about 8:18 on this Monday, the 22nd of August 2016, the day after SummerSlam, and yes, I'm here to give you my SummerSlam review. I didn't do it last night like I would, and I didn't do any reactions because, quite frankly, I had my mom. My mom was here, of course, and she kept opening the door, asking me questions about certain things here and there, about certain things we have to take care of in the future. Business wise, rental wise, home wise, and all that. But anyway, I did watch the show. I mean, I didn't even know the pre-show had started. Here's the thing: I didn't even know the pre-show had started until I looked on Facebook and someone had a live feed of the pre-show, so I watched it. And to get it out of the way, I thought this was an okay pre-show. In fact, sometimes I think the pre-show always can determine whether or not your event's going to be good because you're trying to get what crowd is coming in, filing in to the building. You want to get them as hyped as you can for this event, and I think this did a decent job. I mean, the 12-man tag featuring the tag teams of SmackDown Live of American Alpha, Usos, and the Hype Bros against, the Vaudevillains and Breezango and the Ascension. I was okay. I mean, to me, I know some people may not look at it this way, but to me, they're telling some kind of story here with this because it's a 12-person tag. It's basically a 6 tag team tag, if you know what I mean. 3 tag teams on each, so it's 6 tag teams. And the story I think they're trying to tell here is who is the superior tag team between the Usos and American Alpha. Because we know eventually, probably starting at Backlash or concluding at Backlash, we know we're going to crown tag team champions for SmackDown Live. And the story that's being told right now is it seems that it's going to come down, if there's a mini tournament, obviously there's got to be a tournament to make this happen. It's going to come down to the Usos and American Alpha in the finals. And one of those teams are going to become the SmackDown Tag Team Champions at Backlash. That's what I perceive. That's what I'm perceiving. So, overall it was okay. I mean, not as good as the other one, but it was okay. And like I said, the story that was told here basically is, American Alpha went with the finisher, Grand Amplitude, or whatever it's called, and just when it looked like, Gable had the pin off of that. What he didn't know is when he got tagged in by Jason Jordan, immediately, I don't know if it was Jay Uso, it was one of the Usos, I don't know if it was Jimmy or Jay that tagged in and basically took advantage of the finisher, of them, basically doing the dirty work, if you will, and getting the pinfall with the splash off the top. So, like I said, it seems that even though it may not look like it, they're telling something here that obviously with the Tag Team Championship being created and probably being presented at Backlash, if not sooner or later, that your finals, if there's a tournament like bracket going on to determine this, your finals at Backlash are already determined. It's the Usos. It's going to be the Usos, and it's going to be American Alpha. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's going to be one of those two teams. The next match, which was kind of thrown together, obviously to give these guys a sort of semi pay-per-view payday, was Neville and Sami Zayn against the Dudley Boys. And one thing that Brian Zane has said, I don't know if the Lex Man, he didn't touch upon about this in his review, and I haven't watched most of that yet, but one thing Brian Zane said is that last month at Battleground, Sami Zayn tore the house down with one of the matches of the night, if not year, candidates against Kevin Owens. And tonight, though, he wasn't even on the official card. He was on the show. He was at the event. He participated in the event, but he wasn't on the actual pay-per-view show. He was on the kickoff show. So I guess you get what you can. I mean, they still probably get the same kind of payday. I don't know. But anyway, he and Neville teamed up against the Dudleys. And what I found interesting about this is during the match, they didn't acknowledge, and maybe I missed it, but they didn't acknowledge that here you have two former NXT champions teaming together, and you have an NXT champion that, you know, like I said, here you have two NXT champions facing each other, and you have an NXT champion in Sami Zayn that beat his partner for the NXT title. So, again, it's kind of strange they didn't mention that, oh yeah, these are two former NXT champions, which they are. And oh, by the way, Sami Zayn, I'm surprised they didn't point out that the interesting connection with this tag team was Sami Zayn beat Neville for the title, but I guess bygones are bygones. But anyway, they took on the Dudley Boys, and they're still, and obviously storyline-wise, they're teasing something between the Dudleys. I think right now, what they're doing is they're teasing maybe a breakup or something, or at least some kind of split to where, you know, obviously it looks like to me what it looks like to me is they're trying to go in their own unique way in getting Bubba Ray his singles run. So this is probably one way of doing it. So I'm kind of cool with that. If this miscommunication storyline between the two is happening to cause that, I'd be happy to see. I would be happy to see, you know, Bubba Ray get a Bully Ray like push on the Raw roster, because, you know, he may not, you know, he may get a shot at the Universal Championship here and there, but I see more of Bubba Ray and his Bully Ray persona getting a U.S. title run than a Universal title run. He may get a shot at it if they decide to say, hey, let's go the Bully Ray route with this guy now. Let's split him off from Devon. Let's go the Bully Ray route. And, oh, let's probably make one of his first matches or one of his first opportunities in this new, in our take on it. Let's have him challenge Finn Balor or whoever the Universal Champion is for the title and give it to him at least maybe for a month or two. I could see that. I mean, I could see that's what it's leading towards. But sometimes also with these kind of storylines, the miscommunication does lead to success for the tag team. So they might even also be going in the direction of, hey, the Dudleys got to stop acting this way. They got to get back on the same page. And that probably will lead to them getting to tag team titles. I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. But obviously it sounds more like they're heading towards a miscommunication deal with the two than they are. It's going to lead to a split up, which will probably lead to an eventual Bully Ray Bully Ray debut in WWE. Because they did lose to Sami Zayn and Neville. And the final match of the pre-show, of course, of the kickoff show was checkmate. Okay, the final match of the kickoff show, of course, was Sheamus and Cesaro, the best of 7 matches. I thought, from what I've read, we were going to have 4 pre-show matches, the other being the 6-woman tag from SmackDown Live. That wasn't the case. Instead, it was just Sheamus and Cesaro that got pushed down, and they had a good matchup here. They had a good matchup to close out the kickoff show and really get a majority of that crowd that was coming in on their feet a little bit, in my opinion. Yeah, Sheamus did go over in the match. He gets the first pinfall, but I think what they're doing here, because I've seen this before with any kind of best of 7 series, especially when you've had it between Benoit and Booker T. That the person that's looked at as sort of a tweener / heel, anytime they get the first fall, the babyface, the underdog, always ends up winning the series in the end, especially if it goes to seven matches. So I would expect the next match, maybe the second match, to happen tonight or next week. But we got about a little over a month till Clash of Champions. So I would expect either Clash of Champions or the next Raw pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell, to be the finale. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they drag it out till then, and the finale between the two is inside Hell in a Cell. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But then again, you know, it might end at Clash of Champions. We'll have to wait and see. Now we get to the official pay-per-view network. And I'm going to say this right off the bat because I even experienced this a little bit with the pre-show, and it was throughout the pay-per-view. Is it me, or when you order it on pay-per-view, when you actually order the pay-per-view, is it me, or does the pay-per-view seem to run more smoothly than your network feed? Because you could have a LAN cable connected to your device. Like I have a LAN cable connected to my PS4, so I can browse the internet, I can play online. But yet, is it me? Or, and I've even experienced this with my Xbox 360. But again, is it me? Or does it seem that even with a straight up connection to the internet, not wireless or anything, but a straight up connection, that the feed sometimes seems to judder a little bit, like they seem to skip, and you have to basically you have to rewind back just a bit just to see what you missed because they jutted out, they skipped out. When in a sense, when you're watching it on pay-per-view, you know, paying for it and all that, that it runs smoothly. Whatever the problem is with all these juttings and cuttings and all the things WWE's doing, they need to fix that real quickly because your subscriber count might be up, maybe at an all-time high, but if you don't fix all the juttering and all this and glitching during your events, it's going to go straight down. But anyway, besides that, get into the actual event itself, the actual pay-per-view network event itself. You know, we had the first match, Jericho, Chris Jericho, and Kevin Owens against Enzo and Cass. Good match, good opening match here between the two teams. You could tell that, you know, I think this being one of the first matches as a tag team, you could tell Jericho and Kevin, they still have a lot to gel on if WWE is going to go that route with them. So I would expect better chemistry from them in the near future because they had chemistry throughout. Don't get me wrong, but it's like when it came to certain double team moves, especially the finisher, yeah, they need to really gel a little bit more. They need to get that chemistry down when they're working with other tag teams so that when they pull off that finisher, which is a pop-up code breaker, in other words, basically a pop-up code breaker that you know, it's something that will look spectacular, especially if they do it in a high-risk situation. It'll look spectacular, it'll be smooth, and it won't hurt anybody. So hopefully they can work on that and get that fixed. But yeah, Jericho, much to the surprise of a lot of people, went over Enzo and Cass here. But I don't think it should be much of a surprise because anytime a new tag team, especially if it's, you know, comprised of two charismatic over heels like Owens and Jericho, you know, come together, you want to make that, and especially, like I said, if you're going to go with them as a tag team and give them a sort of a push at the tag team titles, then you want these two to look strong on the first official night as a tag team. So that's why basically Jericho and Kevin Owens went over Enzo and Cass in the first match. Second match of the night, of course, was Is it me? Second match of the night was Sasha Banks and Charlotte. And even though this wasn't as good, from what I understand, as their July 25th, which was my birthday, match on Raw, this was still very good. This was still very decent. It looked like Sasha got injured storyline-wise and legitimately during the first few moments moments of the match, thanks to Charlotte when she got hung up on the top rope, and it looks like she was going for that backbreaker or something, and then Charlotte kind of, I don't know if it was the fault of both women, but it was kind of botched up a little bit. So, yeah, basically, Sasha's, kind of hurt her back, maybe got a little bit of a stinger, and it got re-aggravated a little bit later on during the match, or just moments later in the match, I should say. But she did give Charlotte a little bit of her own comeuppance because she nailed Charlotte a few times in her back during the match. She did do some risk maneuvers, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people are hoping she can tone down on that because they don't want her career to end abruptly or anything. But in the end, when it looked like, because the way they did this really surprised us. Sasha ends up getting Charlotte in the bank statement. It looks like, okay, Charlotte's gonna tap out, but she gets to the ropes. So the second time she does this, she reverses something, a move Charlotte's going to put on her. Versus some kind of, I don't know if it's the natural selection or some kind of move Charlotte was attempting on her. She reversed that right into the bank statement, but then what happened is Charlotte's trying to roll to the ropes. She rolls over Sasha, hooks her leg, 1, 2, 3, and walks out with the Women's Championship for the second time. Now, won the other second time, and which was a shock to us. I don't know if it was a shock to Sasha. I don't think it was. I don't think it was a shock to Sasha because she kind of, she has to play off the fact that, when that happens, it's kind of like an out of nowhere kind of scenario, and it was. I mean, come on, her and Charlotte probably talked about the fact of how they were going to finish it, and Sasha's like, hey, no problem, I'll sell that. Whoa, that was out of nowhere, what happened? And that's what it was. Great selling by Sasha by reacting like, whoa, where did that come from? That was out of nowhere, even though she was injured. Now, I don't know, maybe some people, now I know some people might say, well, maybe they called an audible, I don't know. I don't think that was the case. But yeah, Charlotte is a 2-time women's champion. She obviously is getting a push similar to her father. Now, what I mean by that is she's probably going to have the most reigns of a women's champion in her career. So expect that. I know some people may not like hearing that, but expect her to break the record of Trish Stratus very soon. Not maybe in this year or next year, but in the next few years. Expect her to become a record-setting 8-time women's champion. Expect that. But anyway, she does win the match. She becomes a 2-time champion. And what's funny about this is, Brian Zane brought up the fact that she didn't sell, and that's the one problem with her. She doesn't know how to sell, like the back injury. Well, she kind of held it back a little bit, but I kind of get what you're saying. But I think that plays more into her genetic superior kind of character. Yeah, she did. Yeah, she was holding her back, so obviously she was selling it a little bit. But playing up to the genetic superior character trait of who she is, Charlotte has to show that, hey, no matter how many times you hit me, put me down, or make me tap, I'm always going to get back up. I'm genetically superior, and that's what people hate about me. What have you. Okay, so what was the next match on the card? I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, trying to think. What was the other match? Oh yeah, New Day against Gallows and Anderson. Yeah, New Day against Gallows and Anderson. Very good. It was an interesting match. I mean, New Day, as you had seen during the night, had recruited Jon Stewart to help them out. And I did like, and I'm sure a lot of fans did at the arena and watching at home, they did like the little backstage segment between AJ Styles, Gallows, Anderson, the club, and club founding member and founding father of the club, Finn Balor. So that was kind of interesting to see there. Maybe they're teasing something, we don't really know. But Finn Balor, seeing that, I mean, we knew something like that was coming, and when that happened, I don't know if it was just a huge. I don't know if I wasn't in the arena, so obviously.